Welcome to ATX VGC, everyone. We are some Austin, Texas-based VGC players who will be streaming collaboratively here. Tonight we have an exciting best of three exhibition matchup where the first best of three will be RollAcosta VGC versus Chase. We're pretty regular in having an Austin scene here. We would play Monday nights at Mothership Games with a great TO with Hal. So when everything started, we started doing weekly Zoom calls for 4 or 5 of us and continued to play on Monday nights. We thought this would be a fun way to kind of continue that tradition of getting together, playing, and doing what we'd be doing otherwise on a Monday night, which is best of threes against each other. All right, and looks like we got Austin and Chase paired up, getting ready to go ahead and play their session. So they're going to be doing a best of three. On the left, we've got RollAcosta, and on the right, we're going to have Chase. They're gonna, yep, we got a little bit of a lag between us and them, but we should be handling this pretty fine. It's our first time using Skype for one of these. So right off the bat, we see Austin is bringing a team that looks familiar in Lapras, Tyranitar, Togekiss, Conkeldurr, Arcanine, and Dusclops.
Looks like Chase is bringing his Gyarados team, but it looks a little bit different than the one we've been seeing.
Yeah, he had been talking in team building about wanting to run triple ghost. I'm only seeing one ghost, but it is one of the 3 ghosts he has been spouting as one of the best ghosts in the game in Chandelure.
I do see that he has a Alolan Persian. Is that I don't think I've even heard him talk about that.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I know that Alolan Persian has been used to some success. In one of the Rose Tower tournaments several weeks ago, I know that there was a team that consisted of Alolan Persian, Toxtricity, and then that same team in person went on to win, I believe it was week 3 of the Texas VGC tournament. So, yeah, it's a very fast taunt user. It also has access to Fake Out, Snarl, and then a few other really key and important moves. That's nice to be fast, but not be priority, so you can still use them on dark types.
Wow, so early on we're going to see that Alolan Persian come right out, and it's going to be paired with that Sylveon.
Yep,
I'd expect to see a Fake Out coming here from Chase, probably into that Tyranitar, knowing that Austin likes to use, or I'm not sure if Austin's running the band or not, but my guess is Chase is probably expecting it.
Yeah, I know that's been an invention that they've been using on the team, is the banded Tyranitar alongside this. So unsurprisingly, we see a turn 1 Dynamax from Lapras. Looks like it's going to go ahead and get in there and get that Aurora Veil up turn 1 if it can. But doesn't appear to be enough threatening a KO onto it here this first turn, and Alolan Persian and Sylveon.
So we're going to see that Tyranitar protect. That's a pretty good move there, but that's going to give away the fact that it doesn't have a band.
Yeah, so what we're looking at is probably very similar to Fevzi's team.
Tyranitar set?
Yeah, the entire team, I believe.
Oh, okay.
I know that he used this team to pretty good success in week 4 of the Texas VGC Cup. So, got a Yawn coming out from Sylveon, and it surprisingly that Alolan Persian just went for a very fast Snarl to cut the damage coming from the Lapras. So
I don't think RollAcosta is really going to mind that Yawn coming into the Lapras, because he's kind of notorious for really just using Lapras as a screen setter.
Yeah, he's unafraid of switching it out, which is something that you usually don't see from your Dynamax, where you only get a very Oh, yep, here we go, just like we talked about. One turn of Dynamax, get the Aurora Veil up, and switch. And I think that Chase also knows that pretty well, that that's the way that RollAcosta likes to play, so he might have been doing that intentionally to try and draw and bait the switch. So we got an Icy Wind now coming out from the Alolan Persian.
I think it'd be really cool to see Chase Dynamax the Persian here. I'm not sure if that's something that he would think of, or...
I don't think he's going to... Oh, I forgot about Fur Coat's ability of doubling defense against contact moves. That comes in pretty clutch for a Pokemon that's pretty weak to...
Well, he also has the Roselli Berry, too. Is that the berry for fighting, or...?
Fighting's going to be the Chople Berry, and I don't think
okay.
Did that proc? I might have missed that animation.
I missed it as well.
Yeah, I don't think that procced. I know oftentimes the Alolan Persians are running Roselli Berry as opposed to Chople. But Austin's going to opt to switch out that Tyranitar to do away with his -1. Taunt coming from the Persian.
Wow.
Into that Dusclops, which will make it pretty tough for Dusclops
Wow.
to do. And the Yawn directly into the Lapras.
So we're going to see this Lapras get yawned for a second time already in this game, and we're only, what, 4 turns in at the most?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be interesting to see, does Austin make that switch again and hard switch into Tyranitar, or does he try and go for damage and let his Lapras fall asleep? One of the other moves I know Austin really likes to use is Perish Song, but he needs one more KO before he can really safely go for that. Oh, and Chase has the Gyarados in the back, which is more than likely going to be carrying that Power Whip.
I would expect Chase to protect the Gyarados here, knowing that Lapras sitting there can easily just freeze dry it away, or he can just protect and let the Lapras fall asleep.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see what he goes for right here. I wouldn't be too... I'm unfamiliar with what he runs on this Gyarados, whether it's like a 4-attack situation, or if he is carrying Protect in some way. If he is carrying that, it looks like he does not go for it. He's going for the Max Geyser.
Wow.
Into the Dusclops. And because of our positioning, I can't see how much damage that did.
It didn't do a whole lot. It did probably about 25%.
Yeah, we're moving around the frames. We'll see. So that freeze dry is huge. It does about 70% to Gyarados. And we know that the Dusclops is just going to continue to Nightshade here because it's taunted and has no other choice. Now with that trade-off, the 70% damage in exchange for going to sleep with Lapras. So it's a very fast-paced game. These are two players that are very decisive in their moves and they don't have to take a ton of time to think about it, mostly because they've played each other so much.
It's pretty impressive how RollAcosta here has been able to, well, I'm going to eat my words here, but we're getting kind of late into the game, and he's been able to keep his Pokemon with a lot of health.
Yeah, he hasn't taken a lot of health. He, hasn't taken a lot of damage until that turn. Gyarados is going to go and give itself a Moxie boost, and we'll see here if Lapras remains asleep again for its first optional turn that it could have woken up. And the single target Hyper Voice does, a pretty good chunk through that Aurora Veil when you're considering that was single target pixelated boosted. So now the Dusclops comes back in and it's no longer taunted, so he is free to go for ahead and go for a Trick Room if he so chooses, or a Haze, to do away with the Moxie boosts.
And the Frisk there is showing that Gyarados does have the Lumberry, so that's some information that we have.
Yeah.
But when he does just get the Airstream off into the Dusclop, taking it out.
Yeah, so that is going to go ahead and deny the Trick Room. Yep, Dusclops fainted, and now that effective Dragon Dance of a Max Airstream plus the Moxie boost is going to be pretty tough to deal with, especially if Lapras doesn't get a Wake Up right here.
Oh, he does get a Wake Up, and it is going to be enough to take out the Gyarados.
Yeah,
So
now,
we already saw that RollAcosta has Conkeldurr in the back, and now that that max boosted Gyarados is off the field, it'll be a little bit easier to handle it. But he does have the what item do you think is on the Sylveon here?
so I would expect it's probably Pixie Plate. He has used at this point Yawn and Hyper Voice. So I'm anticipating probably, and that Sylveon's at +1 speed. So what you're probably going to end up seeing here is a Rock Slide and Hyper Voice, and the Hyper Voice should be enough to pick off Conkeldurr.
So we see the Lapras protecting. Hyper Voice comes in. I would imagine that that should be at least close to enough, unless this Conkeldurr is Assault Vest. So that, yeah, that looks like Assault Vest damage to me. I don't know. I didn't see what he's running.
Yeah, I should probably have my...
Oh my god.
And as you can hear, Austin's reaction to what's happened. So now,
I don't think there's a whole lot that RollAcosta can do from this point, so he's just gonna Mach Punch. Oh, I don't want to speak before he does it.
yeah.
I would probably just Drain Punch, but I don't think that there's anything. I mean, there's no way that Mach Punch is gonna take out Sylveon, and Rhyperior's at full health.
Oh, so that's not going to be Assault Vest. That's a Life Orb Conkeldurr.
Oh, okay. Interesting. That did hardly any damage. He must be very heavily invested in special defense.
Yeah. Well, and also it is still spread damage, even if the opponent protects, so that's one thing to consider. All right, so that's game 1 of the set goes to Chase.
And let's see if they're RollAcosta opts not to take Chase's league card. I wonder if that's some kind of rivalry thing. If he just doesn't like him or what.
That's the ultimate sign of disrespect in competitive Pokemon, when you're offered the opponents. But yeah, so here we are. What kind of adjustments do you think might happen right here, JD?
Well, we didn't see the Snorlax in game 1. I think that might be something that could potentially come around, but also with the opposing Conkeldurr on the other side, and knowing that RollAcosta brought that to game 1, I'm not sure if we'll see the Snorlax or not. I think it'd be interesting to find out.
Yeah, one thing I'm curious about is the Chandelure. Is it the typical imprison Trick Room as a means of blocking Dusclops, or is it going to end up being the Fast Haunt from Alolan Persian is going to be the means of kind of shutting down Trick Room if Chase doesn't want to play in Trick Room? He might also decide that this game he does want to play in Trick Room. He's clearly got a mode that would work with it, carrying heavy hitters like Rhyperior and Snorlax. So be interesting to see how they adjusted to the game 1.
All right, so it looks like our players have picked their teams here, and we're gonna see Chase lead off with the Persian and Sylveon again, and Lapras Tyranitar.
Very similar, the exact same, except for it looks like the Alolan Persian and the Sylveon have switched sides from last time. I also do want to take a moment to note how incredible Chase is at putting Pokemon in their correct balls. Sylveon in a Love Ball, which is perfect, and a Dive Ball it looked like for Persian.
Yeah, you gotta love the Sylveon and the Love Ball.
Yeah, so I don't see a ton other than there might be an adjustment Austin makes if he doesn't want to get yawned or if he wants to get more. Oh, and exactly. So he doesn't Dynamax turn 1.
Yeah, so this time we're not going to see that RollAcosta is going to set the screens. Instead, he's going to protect into the Lapras, and he's also protecting from that Snarl coming out. So I'm wondering if he's just going to try and... Okay, so he does Rock Slide. Does really good damage to both the opposing Mons.
And Chase read the Protect, or at the very least cared more about getting Yawn off onto Tyranitar there. So now he's got the yawn pressure onto Tyranitar, but he does have a Lapras who has yet to been snarled, and he has damage onto Persian. So a Gmax Resonance here, relatively free. We'll wait to call it since we should probably find some way of muting these two on the call so they can't hear our commentating of what's going on.
Alright, so we do see the Dynamax coming, or the Gigantamax rather, coming from the Lapras. It's probably safe to assume that he's just going to Resonance. I didn't notice who he targeted. I'm not sure if you did.
Yeah, I believe he targeted the Sylveon.
Okay, so this time the Persian isn't going to snarl, instead it's just going to get a little speed control.
Yeah, trying to slow down that Tyranitar, or whatever was going to switch in.
And Sylveon does opt to yawn into the Lapras slot this time.
But RollAcosta gets exactly what he wants out of this turn, which is Veils up plus damage onto Sylveon.
Wow, and that would be a 2-hit from there. If he's able to get that off again, barring a Snarl doesn't come through, then... Oh, and it does avoid the Rock Slide, so that really changes things.
Yeah, that changes things quite a bit, because otherwise it would have been a guaranteed KO into that Sylveon, and now you've got Tyranitar taking a nap. But it looks like with Sand Chip, that's still going to put Sylveon in a position where I don't think it lives another max move. Yeah, so a couple of interesting things that we've seen so far. We know that he's not running Banded. Okay, there we go. Snarl coming out, trying to drop that special attack into Lapras. Obviously not caring about Tyranitar's special attack.
So Austin staying in with the Lapras here means that he's going to have 2 Pokemon at the end of this turn asleep.
Yeah, it's an interesting strategy. He's trying to trade all of that for, in this case, picking up the KO into Persian, as well as getting his screens up. Well, he already had his screens up, but...
And I think we did notice that he's... Well, I don't know if we should say that or not, because maybe Chase can hear what item the Lapras has there, so...
Yeah, I'm fairly certain Chase knows. This is a team that they've both played each other several times with, but it looks like Chase has gotten himself into a position where Tyranitar is relatively... I mean, his Gyarados is relatively free, because he's facing 2 opposing Pokemon asleep. So his Gyarados is now in a position where it's not at threat of being freeze-dried. So he might be starting to go for some Moxie boosts here.
I wonder if RollAcosta is fearing the Power Whip into the Lapras slot there.
Yeah, if he was, this is definitely a good switch into Dusclops, as that should eat that pretty well. But I'm expecting probably a Max Geyser into the Tyranitar to go ahead and set the weather in favor for the remainder of the game if he can manage to knock out Tyranitar here.
So we see the Tyranitar is still sleeping, and you predicted correctly there. The Geyser comes in, targeting the Tyranitar slot, and it is going to be more than enough to take it out.
Yeah, it's one of the things with the Sand giving the special defense boost, it doesn't do a whole lot for a physically offensive Gyarados.
So we do see the Moxie boost come in as well, so we're going to get that Gyarados up to +1. Hyper Voice comes in. This is about 15%.
Yeah, thanks for that color, because from my view, I can't actually see the health of the Dusclops
there.
Yeah, I can see the status bar when he's selecting moves for Dusclops, but that's about it.
Alright, so quick select there by Chase. We're going to see another Geyser come in, +1 in the rain. It brings Dusclops down to 40 HP.
Then we'll see if Hyper Voice is enough to pick that off.
Not quite, it brings it down to 20. So that means the Hyper Voice next turn would be enough to kill.
Yeah, but more importantly, Dusclops is able to get the Trick Room off.
Yeah.
So here, I think it'll be interesting to see. Those on stream have seen what Dusclops' other moves are, but Chase has not yet. So I think it'll be interesting to see which set of Dusclops this is. There's kind of 4 or 5 different moves that Dusclops wants to run, whether that be Ally Switch, Pain Split, Haze, but or Shadow Sneak on teams where a self Shadow Sneak weakness policy proc is important, but doesn't really look like the case here.
Yeah, so not sure exactly what RollAcosta is doing here. I kind of missed his clicks, but okay, so we do see the Haze come in, getting rid of the upgrades there into the Moxie boosts off of Gyarados.
Lapras stays asleep. Gyarados will be going for that max overgrowth, which...
Wow.
Whoa.
Lapras lives on 6 HP, and it does set the overgrowth, so Lapras is probably going to be up to, what do you think, about 16 here?
Yeah, I would guess probably 15 to 20 in the recovery. I didn't catch its health stat, so... a notable thing, because Gyarados is not a grounded Pokemon, it's not going to receive the benefit of Grassy Terrain, either from the damage boost or from the healing properties. So,
and the good thing for Austin here is that he does still have Trick Room up, so Dusclops and Lapras are going to be faster here. You gotta wonder if, again, I'm not sure if they can hear, but you gotta wonder if the Dusclops is going to have the Pain Split into the Gyarados slot, and then possibly a Freeze Dry coming from RollAcosta to maybe get rid of that Gyarados, unless Chase maybe, yeah, he does have the Protect on the Gyarados.
Yeah, that was that was key, because we didn't see that in Game 1, where we thought it would be a more obvious Protect to let the Lapras fall asleep. But the Hyper Voice coming in here, interesting interaction. I didn't realize that Sylveon actually undersped the Lapras.
So Dusclops lives on 9 there, and it goes up to 18 after the overgrowth, so it is still in the red.
Yeah, and this is really going to depend on what that last move is for Sylveon. So far we've seen Hyper Voice, Yawn, Protect. So if he's carrying something like Quick Attack, that could be enough to pick off Dusclops, but he was more than likely going to be trading that Sylveon for Conkeldurr, if that's what he opts to do.
That Gyarados going for a Protect last turn, I think RollAcosta is pretty safe to just go for a Thunder Punch straight into that Gyarados slot and clear it off the field before it has any chance.
Yeah, with the only super effective move that Gyarados can do into that slot's going to be a Bounce. So, got a Rhyperior switching for the Sylveon.
And we did see that it is actually Lightning Rod ability, so I was actually wrong by saying that, and he predicted correctly with the Drain Punch, actually bringing it down to 1.
Wow.
On a Focus Sash. Wow.
Yeah. Interesting strategy. Fun fact about Lightning Rod Rhyperior. I brought that to Dallas, and I thought that it was a fun gimmick. It did not go so well. Yeah, I missed that in the last game where the Lightning Rod procced. But yeah, it's a tricky one, because most people expect Rhyperior to be Solid Rock. So here it'll be interesting to see what happens, because if RollAcosta is able to clear that Rhyperior from the field before Protect, that's gonna block Dusclops' ability to KO the Rhyperior, and it's gonna redirect Conkeldurr's Thunder Punch into Rhyperior, boosting its paltry special attack.
The Waterfall comes in. I wonder if Chase has Bounce on the Gyarados there. I think that would have been a pretty decent way to kind of avoid getting attacked.
Yeah.
Although it probably doesn't do a whole lot of damage to Conkeldurr, so I don't know if that would have really benefited him that much.
Yeah, what it looks like right now is that he was trying to stall out both the Aurora Veil and Trick Room, and now he's in a position where he can. So the thing, we do know that, or we're fairly certain that Gyarados is carrying Bounce, because we saw Max Airstream last game.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah, so I believe that's the only, strangely enough, like the most powerful flying stab move that a flying type Pokemon gets.
You don't think it carries acrobatics?
So that Mach Punch is going to be enough to go ahead and KO the Rhyperior, unsurprisingly, especially since it's no longer boosted.
Wow, and this Dusclops is still holding on, living
Wow.
on 21 HP.
The Dusclops that just won't die. Yeah, I think Chase really needed to KO the Dusclops before it got Trick Room back up, because now it's gonna be pretty difficult for Sylveon to get to a point where it can get a Hyper Voice off and KO the Conkeldurr. So I've got Sylveon here down. It looks like it's within a Drain Punch distance, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this turn plays out.
Do you think that Chase has any reason to try and protect his Gyarados here, or do you think it's kind of a little bit late for that, seeing that there's 5 turns left of Trick Room?
Ooh, everyone.
Yeah, that was an Amber Alert. I just got it as well.
Yeah. Oh, we see the Protect come out from Sylveon here. So,
wow, and the Pain Split connecting into the Gyarados slot, bringing Dusclops up to 62 HP.
So it can continue to just be annoying on the field. That's kind of what Dusclops does best, is that it just bothers.
That Waterfall brings Dusclops down to 28 HP now, so it's back into the red once again. Sylveon
going for the double protect, but doesn't get it.
Pain Split comes in, so...
Oh, the Sylveon lives on 1.
Wow. Or was that a Nightshade?
Yeah, it lived on 1 in Nightshade, it looked like. But RollAcosta going for the very safe play of Thunder Punching into that as well, because if Nightshade was enough, it would have been redirected into Gyarados and KO'd. But at this point, I think that there's 2 turns left of Trick Room, if I'm not mistaken, and only... I think Chase is going to either have to hit a double protect, or I think that that's going to be his only way. I might be wrong on my Trick Room count here.
So we do see 1 come in here, and we're going to see RollAcosta getting the Thunder Punch into the protect.
RollAcosta very decisively pressing, because he has no other... Oh, Gyarados gets the double protect. Wow.
Oh, wow. So I wonder if we're going to see... What's this Gyarados at, +1 here?
It is at +1 neutral speed, so... Not going to be too surprised by bounce right here. Oh,
yeah,
going for the Waterfall.
Waterfall to try and get the flinch. Let's
yeah,
see if
that's true.
No, he doesn't get it.
No flinch.
He's going to get enough to take the Gyarados down.
Alright, looks like we're...
A good game, too, there, as we see RollAcosta come through with the win, making it 1-1.
Yeah, a very solid adjustment despite the same 4 being brought for both. I thought that was interesting. I think both of them played it very differently. Chase opening up with Yawning the Tyranitar as opposed to... Is he... Oh, the disrespect 2 rounds in a row. I think it was really interesting to see the adjustment Yawning into the Tyranitar slot this time around as opposed to the Lapras slot. Don't know how much of a read that was, or if Chase just knows RollAcosta enough to know that he's not going to do the exact same move 2 turns in a row. But it'll be interesting to see what both players bring for this last round.
So how do you think Chase bounces back after dropping the second game there?
Yeah,
I think he keeps it the same, or do you think he changes things up?
The one thing that I think is really important for Chase is to maintain pressure on the Dusclops. We saw just how pesky that was. So if he's able to get a taunt off into that Dusclops again, and he's able to keep his Alolan Persian healthy enough to where it can't go for Trick Room and it can't go for Haze or Pain Split, then I think that really hampers RollAcosta's ability to utilize that Pokemon, because then at that point it's just doing 50 chip damage every turn, which isn't bad, but it's not nearly as good as what it can be. So I think he's going to manage that, and I think he's also going to continue to try and save and get his Sylveon in outside of Trick Room against Conkeldurr. If he's able to do that, then I think that's how you handle the Conkeldurr. in terms of the adjustments RollAcosta is going to make, I think he's going to continue with the strategy of getting up the Veil. So being able to sit bulky behind the Veil is a really, really good position. And we see
So we do see that Sylveon and the Persian coming back into the same slots as last game.
Yep.
Not in the original slots as from game 1. As
Very key
out.
analysis right there. But yeah, we are seeing the same 4 leads. So it'll be interesting to see whether this plays out closer to game 1, turn 1, or if it's going to be closer to game 2's turn 1.
Oh, and we do see the Lapras go for the Protect as we saw in last game. And it's actually a double Protect here, so he's just kind of scoping things out and seeing what Chase is going to get started with.
Yeah, I think this is the classic strategy where he's going to put his hand between the receiver and the sand damage pool. The sand damage will be the only damage for the game, and he's going to stall out the rest. Yeah, so we saw Snarl and a Yawn. So important information in the speed tiers there revealed through the sand, with Persian obviously being the fastest, followed by Lapras, and finally Sylveon.
Yeah, a little bit interesting there that Lapras actually outspeeds the Sylveon.
Yeah, it is. Lapras not known for being a particularly speedy mon. And specifically, it's not too difficult to build a Tyranitar that outspeeds Lapras. You can get off a max rockfall into it.
So we do see the Snarl come in, which is going to make that Resonance a little bit less intimidating, and Chase already knows that the Aurora Veil is going to get up, so I don't think that he necessarily has a problem with that, knowing what's ahead of him. That still does so much damage into the Persian and brings it down to about 50 to 55% there.
Yeah, that's good damage, especially if the Tyranitar connects with its Rock Slide into that.
And we see that it does, and it brings the Persian down to about 30%.
Oh, and Sylveon got flinched.
Wow.
That's going to be a really big flinch right there. Unable to go for the Yawn. So we'll see. Right here, RollAcosta has the option to either go for the KO into that Persian and block its ability to kind of annoy Dusclops in the end game, or he can go for damage onto Sylveon, which would threaten his Conkeldurr like it has in the past few. So he opts for switching out Tyranitar here into the Dusclops. Oh, we just saw Babiri Berry on Sylveon. I must have missed that in previous games.
So we are going to see the Yawn and the Icy Wind here slowing down the Lapras and the Dusclops, which is actually really better for RollAcosta in a sense that now that Lapras is going to be slower than the Sylveon.
Yeah.
And, which means it's going to go first if he's able to get the Trick Room up.
Yeah, that change in speed is interesting. I think it's going to hurt if Chase is unable to block that Dusclops from setting up Trick Room this turn. So I think it'll be interesting to see. There's a couple things we haven't yet seen. We haven't seen Chandelure with... Oh, here it is.
Oh, wow. And it's shiny, it looks like. Or is it not? We just saw some kind of...
I missed that animation. I don't think that's the shiny of Chandelure. I think it's got
it's not.
Red flames. Yeah. So here I'm expecting an Imprison to come out. The thing about Imprison is that it only is up for as long as the Pokemon who uses it is alive. So he's going to have to... Oh.
Oh, wow.
So he's opting not to. And there's the 4th move revealed from Sylveon, the Mystical Fire.
Wow, and it's going to drop the Lapras' special attack there. So Geyser's going to come in, targeting the Chandelure, and that's probably not going to do a whole lot of damage through the Protect.
Yeah, through Protect and at -2, that's really not a whole lot of damage at all.
So the Rain is up, so that is good for RollAcosta. Although the Lapras is at -2 and asleep. So curious to see what these guys do next turn.
Yeah. I missed what Dusclops did that last turn. Sorry, I was adjusting. It didn't go for Trick Room on the last turn, did it?
No, I think it actually targeted the Chandelure.
With the Nightshade.
I
Yeah,
actually missed it as well.
that
be
that would
honest
make
with you.
sense. He was doubling into it to try and break the focus sash as well as KO it before getting imprisoned up.
He either did that or he hazed to get the stats back into the Lapras.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, I totally missed it as well.
So we got double switch here with Tyranitar and Tyranitar and Gyarados. So Tyranitar overriding the rain. And now we've got a yawned Dusclops, so... But that Dusclops will be operating in Trick Room. So that is also one other way that RollAcosta can... where Chase can start to neutralize some of RollAcosta's kind of annoyingness of the Dusclops. By either forcing it to switch out or putting it to sleep here.
So do you think that Chase just goes straight for the Max in the Gyarados slot?
That's tough, because on turn 1 of Trick Room, I don't know how much you really want to be in a position where your Gyarados is vulnerable as the last Pokemon moving every turn. So we see he opts for the Protect this round. And the Hyper
good there.
Burst.
I think one reason Chase could potentially go for the Max early on is because there's so many turns left of this Trick Room, and that's going to mean that he's not going to take a whole lot of damage from this Rock Slide.
Yeah. Yeah, the turn 1, and that looks like it's enough to KO the Sylveon. So that's going to be a little difficult for Chase to deal with any kind of... If Austin's... or if RollAcosta's managed to bring the Conkeldurr in the back, that's going to be difficult for him to deal with outside of a max... outside of a max Airstream. The other interesting thing we could see here is a Chandelure going for Trick Room and reversing the Trick Room.
That's a good point. So I'm expecting this Lapras to freeze dry. Let's see if it wakes up here.
Yeah, I think that the play you see most of the time is going to end up being a freeze dry into Gyarados and then likely a Rock Slide or a Crunch into Chandelure. If there's fear of potentially missing the... Oh, and we got a Dynamax coming from
We see
Chase.
Chase there in his plain white tee.
Yeah,
Ball.
his ripped white tee. Oh, Dynamax Chandelure.
Wow.
Not what I expected.
I did not see that one coming.
Interesting. So we have not yet seen an item on this Chandelure. It does live. Looks like probably 2 more of those.
Overgrowth comes in. Targeting the Lapras, that's gonna probably be enough. Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's enough to KO the Lapras.
So that means this Tyranitar is up against these. It's up against 2 Pokemon that are probably gonna do a little bit of damage to it.
Yeah. Yeah, Chandelure outside of... I mean, Overgrowth is probably going to be its move that can damage Tyranitar the most. I'm imagining his other moves being probably a Fire move, a Ghost move, and Trick Room, presumably. But it also looks like Sand... Is that just enough to... Looks like...
So that Tyranitar is at 70 HP. Just for your knowledge there, I know you're
Yeah, I can't see that. Yeah, thank you. Life Orb Chandelure. So I missed the Life Orb damage last turn. So. It'll be interesting to see how the rest of this turn plays out, because I believe we've got, this is, if I'm not mistaken, either the last or the second to last turn of Trick Room, and I believe it might be the last turn of Sand. No, I think there's probably 1 to 2 more turns of Sand. I'm trying to keep my mental counter going.
I think there's 1 as well.
Yeah, because if it was the last turn, then Chase could potentially just protect and live without having to take the Sand damage at the end. But with 2 turns, then he's kind of guaranteed to KO if he stays in here.
So we see the Tyranitar protect. I wonder if we're going to see the Gyarados protect as well. And it doesn't, so this Dusclops is going to take it out with a Nightshade.
Yeah. Looks like it did enough damage and had 49 to spare. I think we're going to see the max Phantasm into the Dustclops here. Dropping it down to 20 HP. That's impressive. Unfortunately, he doesn't have anything to take advantage of the lower defenses. Chandelier being a primarily physical attacker here. But this will be interesting to see. Kind of the end of this turn. The most damaging move that that we've seen so far has been the Rock Slide, which I don't think is going to be enough to KO the Chandelier. Perhaps Rock Slide into Nightshade is going to be enough, but we'll see.
Yeah, so it looks like... Okay. So what we're going to see from RollAcosta here is the Nightshade going into the max guard, followed by an Assurance.
Yep, and that's the move we hadn't seen yet, but interesting tech.
So is Trick Room over this turn? Or is there one more?
I believe that the Twisted Dimensions are returning to normal after this insanely long... Yeah, Aurora Veil wears off and Trick Room wears off. Yeah, so now Chase is in a position where he has to 3v1 with a team with Chandelier against the world, and we'll see if it's enough.
So we do see the energy ball come in, and that's going to be enough to take out the Tyranitar.
Yeah, outside of Sand really dropping its special defense boost is going to hurt Tyranitar.
Taking some damage from that life orb, will that bring it down to enough where Nightshade is going to kill it? I think it has a little more... Yeah, so that's not even going to be close to enough. It's probably going to live in the red there.
But he has his fourth. RollAcosta is about to bring in his fourth Pokemon. Now, the moves we've seen from this so far have been Mach Punch and Thunder Punch, we know. So he does have a move that can damage a Ghost type, which is never a position you want to be in, is not having a move that damages a Ghost type. It looks like he's going to opt to try and get a little bit more grassy terrain healing here.
So what do you think Chase does next turn with two Pokemon on the other side of the field here?
It's going to be pretty tough. I think he's got to prioritize killing that Conkeldurr. Because it looks like he could likely live two Nightshades. Oh, goes for the double protect. Continuing the recovery. Well, I guess the grassy terrain has subsided, but trying to stall out this Trick Room.
Can he get a triple protect?
I mean, I think that's his win con at this point.
Oh my god!
Triple protect.
Let's see if he can protect all the way through the dimensions here. I'm kind of curious. Let's see if he's crazy enough to try it.
So even if he does protect all the way through, I'm curious what move he has where he's able to KO Conkeldurr from full.
Oh my goodness, he goes for it. Ah, it fails this time. So we do see the Nightshade come in from the Dustclops. And that does bring it down to the red, which means Thunder Punch is going to be enough to clean up this set.
Wow, crazy turn of events in Game 3. So, congratulations to RollAcosta on winning that best of 3. A truly exhilarating matchup. And these games went a little longer than I thought, considering the kind of fast-paced gameplay of... Oh, he has finally accepted the card.
He does take the lead card.
Sportsmanship is not dead.
It's almost like shaking the opponent's hand there at the end of the soccer game.
Yeah, which, it is a rule in Play Pokemon. You're supposed to shake... I mean, I think that they're doing away with that, given all the COVID-19 concerns, but...
Oh, that's a good point.